in the background. And I heard Rotary, and of course it got my attention. So there's a news story about the Rotary Club of Truro, Nova Scotia, and what they were doing to help the community of Portapique, who had the tragic shooting spree. I think that was in August of 2020. Anyway, to shorten the story, the National Committee reached out to the Rotary Club of Truro to see what they were doing and what we might be able to do to help. So we had Alana speak to our committee a month ago, maybe or more. And we were so impressed with what she was doing and what their committee was doing that we wanted to share her story with the whole club. So Alana Hirtle is a past president and current chair of the Rotary Cares Committee of the Rotary Club of Truro, Nova Scotia. Committee's primary focus is the Portapique Community Build-Up Project. From 2018 to 2021, Alana served as on the district 7820 board of directors as public image chair for 1 year and as district trainer for 2 years. When Alana is not at Rotary, she can be found at her day job at the local Community Business Development Corporation, where she supports small business owners through financing, training, and advice. In her spare time, she is a musical theater enthusiast. So please welcome Alana to tell us what they're doing in Truro and more specifically in Portapique.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Robert, and good morning, members of Cataraqui Kingston. It's lovely to be back. I hope you're having sun here as we are this morning. I've got a fairly lengthy slide deck, so I'm going to jump right into it, and hopefully we'll have time for some questions afterwards. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
we're good. All right, perfect. So let's see if I can get the slideshow to start. All right, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Perfect. So this is the initial artist's rendering, which we had done for the new community hall, which it looks slightly different now, but this is what we've been working off of for the last about a year now, actually. The mission of the Community Build-Up Project is to build a positive, forward-looking sense of community in Portapique through revitalizing the Riverside Community Hall. It came through loud and clear as we began having conversations with community members that they did not want this to be a memorial. There will be a memorial in a different location, and we firmly believe that that's needed for the families. But this project is all about looking forward. And indeed, this has been what I've been saying for the last year and a half. This really is a story of hope and resilience. And it's funny because I didn't think of it as being a sound bite, but it's turned into a sound bite. And almost every interview I've done now, I include that, and they tend to use it. And October 17th, the story that Robert heard on the news was actually our grand opening of the playground portion of the project. And that's what almost every radio and TV broadcast led with, was the story of hope and resilience. So moving on, the event was actually April 18th and 19th of 2020. So we're quickly coming up on the 2nd anniversary, which is still hard to fathom, but here we are. In the hours after the event, we were all just so gobsmacked, for lack of a better word. We were shocked, and for something like this to happen so close to home in Canada, much less, little sleepy community in Nova Scotia. Truro is centrally located in Nova Scotia, and then Portapique is about 25 minutes from here along the Fundy shore. And it's beautiful, sleepy little oceanside community where, people would say nothing ever happens. Lovely spot. And I often joke, I grew up on the South Shore of Nova Scotia, but I say I grew up in the same community on the South Shore, right by the ocean, and, a few hundred residents and lots of tourists in the summer. So in the hours following the event, we knew we had to do something. Obviously, Rotarians are people of action. So seeing a community in need, we felt we needed to jump into it. We struck a committee within the first, I think, 5 days, 3 days maybe. And by the following week, we were doing research on what it would look like to help the community, what was needed. And our initial thoughts were education funds, scholarships, money for the families. But through the Red Cross and through the Nova Scotia Remembers Legacy Society, which is another organization that was created out of the event, that became pretty obvious that educational funds and those kind of things would be looked after. So then we thought, well, all right, what can we do kind of boots on the ground that would make a considerable difference? One of our members, Andrew McDonald, lives in Portapique and was involved that night and said, you know, the biggest tragedy for him was that he didn't know all of the community members who died, that he lived there for at that point 6 years and he didn't know everybody. And that was the real tragedy, was that the community had kind of, as people had moved in and out, it had disjoined a little bit. And he wanted to do something that would help the community come back together. So in May, June of 2020, he and another one of our members started doing one-on-one consultations, went and sat on people's back stoops and met with a whole bunch of community members to see what they might like to see in the community and what might be possible, what could be done to help them move forward from this. Out of that, we did a focus group in July of 2020 and brought those families together at the little community hall. And this is the existing community hall right here. It would seat maybe 50 if you really crammed everybody in on top of one another. It's tiny. And so we are at this focus group together and they were saying, you know, it would be really nice if we had some place for the kids to play. Okay, so could we get a slide? It said, no, dream bigger, you know, like let's blue sky this. What can we possibly do? And they said, could we get a swing set and a slide? And no, like dream big, blue sky. So we started talking about, you know, what if money were no option, what could you do? And you know, we started talking about community dinners and flea markets. And my gosh, what if we had a place where we could have like community weddings and that kind of thing? Wow. And they were thinking, you know, if they could get $100,000 to put in a decent playground, they'd be over the moon. And I'm like, yeah, I think we can probably do better than that, but you keep thinking. So from the focus group, we went back as a club, as a committee, and started to brainstorm what could we really do. And again, looking at the hall, and this is the interior of the hall, our first work day in September of 2020, it really needed a refresh. It was very old. The kitchen was something that was thrown as an afterthought, and it wasn't very big. So we thought, well, if we expanded the hall and then added a playground, well, that would be a fantastic project. So we started doing things like, you know, tearing off 5 layers of paneling and then 15 layers of wallpaper, and started to really get into the hall. We realized that the hall was actually not in as good shape as we thought. The floor was rotten. And it actually sits, there's a slide further on that shows you it sits kind of right on the property line. So we wouldn't be able to expand it in the way that we were hoping. So then we started thinking about, well, what if we moved it? If we have to put a new floor into it, what if we moved it back and did the new floor? And then we got thinking, well, if we have to move it anyway, why don't we just make a bigger floor area and expand it in the new place? So that's kind of the evolution of the concept. So we rolled it out in October of 2020 as the project, and this is us down here with the project poster at that point, and had support from Big Brothers Big Sisters, and a number of community groups came on board to help us out at that point. It has evolved. The fundraising kickoff was really that October, but in earnest last year this time. We did a few hall upgrades, put in a heat pump so that we could be in there working comfortably. But really it was getting the outdoor plan done. We broke ground on the playground April 13th of last year, and it was completed on April 3rd, and we had the grand opening of the playground on October 3rd, and we had the grand opening on October 17th. So for the last few months, we've been finalizing the plans on the building, on the new hall, and then we're tearing it down as we speak, the old one, and going to begin the outdoor or the indoor construction, hopefully very soon. So moving on, Andrew's quote, dream big, we'll build it together. That's what he told them in our focus group meeting. Dream big, don't keep thinking a slide in a swing set. And the whole idea behind the name of Community Build Up was to involve the whole community. The idea that we weren't going to do this for them. We would provide the framework for the community to be able to come together and actually roll their sleeves up and do work and help themselves to kind of create this out of nothing, out of the tragedy that occurred. So we've had a number of partners. Obviously, the Rotary Club of Truro is the lead, if you will. We've also partnered with the Community Foundation of Nova Scotia, as they were able to provide instant tax receipts for donations. So they're handling individual donations for us. The Riverside Community Hall is what this little hall is called through the Registry of Joint Stocks. So we're probably going to be renaming it once all the funding is in place. And then John and Nancy Hudson own the property around the property that the hall sits on. And they very graciously sold us an acre of land at a very good price so that we could expand the hall properly. Cobequid Consulting are the playground consultants. They are a local company who do all natural designs on playgrounds, and you'll see the pictures. It's phenomenal work. And they really incorporate wood and these structures kind of, come right out of the trees. It's really fantastic. And then Rural Roots Engineering and Design are the engineers and architects that have been working on the design of the new building with us. Mi'kmaq is a Mi'kmaq word, and I'm going to ask you to remember that because I'm going to talk about it more in a few minutes. So here's the kind of ground plan, as it were. This here is the initial property that the hall sits on. The hall is right here currently, and you can see it actually sits across the property line on this side, and it's very close to the property line on this side. So this piece of land here, the 160 by 273, it's about an acre, is what we're purchasing. Actually, it just went through last week, is what we purchased from the Hudsons as well. So the idea is the playground is here now. The hall is going to move back and be incorporated into the new building. So this is the new building, the gray part, and then the orangey part is an outdoor covered pavilion so that they can do kind of outdoor things or have flea markets or that kind of thing. I've got the costs broken down on another slide, so we'll keep going. So here's the existing hall, good old Portapique Community Hall, and then there's an old cemetery, a settler cemetery in back, and then it was all trees. This was 2 years ago, what it looked like. Interestingly, the hall we've discovered is actually the original settlers' church. So it's at least 200 years old, if not a little bit more. And it is, once you get past all the paneling and wallpaper, it's actually quite beautifully done. It's all peg and wooden nails and that kind of thing. It's lots of beams, and I'll talk more about that. So the existing hall, yeah, this is what it looked like on our first Get Stuff Done Day. In September of 2020, we've done a lot. There were terrible lights in there, so we put some lights in and we took down paneling and tried to make it a little bit more hospitable as well. I'm being mindful of time, so I'm whizzing through some of these slides. Cobequid Consulting, again, the outdoor natural playground. This is the kind of stuff that they do, these really fantastic wooden structures. It really allows children's creativity to shine through. Here are some of our Get Stuff Done days. We had to clear a lot of trees and scrub brush, and everybody got involved. Lots of community members came out and just rolled up their sleeves and got stuff done, as it were. More of our Get Stuff Done days. These are little play huts that are at the back of the playground, and they are now connected. There's little grooves and they connect. We had to bring in, if I remember, 210 yards of mulch that we spread one day in September, on a very hot day in September. And then we had 10 pallets of sod that we laid on October 3rd. That was our last project. And then of course it had rained for the week prior to laying the sod. And then for the week after laying the sod, it was hot and sunny and no precipitation whatsoever, of course. So we had to, our project manager, God bless him, lives locally. He came in with a sprinkler, and he would come in every couple of hours and move the sprinkler around the property because I was frantic that we would have, burnt up dry grass for the grand opening, and that just couldn't happen. So thankfully it was beautiful, but we laid a lot of sod that day because it had been all dirt, and like 10 pallets of sod, you think goes a long way, but let me tell you, it was a lot of work. So this is, again, in process. This is some of the great stuff from Cobequid Consulting. This is what they call a natural amphitheater. It will face the the outdoor pavilion part will end right about at the edge of the photograph. And you'll be able to sit on this little elevated space, and then the hill here for the slide. This is some great, I love these. I've tried to get onto this rope swing thing, and honestly, it's not built for anybody over the age of 10, but it's super cool. This other swing you can sit in, which is really neat too. So it's been very popular, very popular. This really cool thing in there on the right-hand picture is what they call a log run. And it's kind of like an obstacle course. There are two slides. There's a small slide on the right side, and then there's this big corkscrew slide on the other, and you can climb up a couple of levels and then kind of climb through the obstacle course and down the nets. And it's just amazing. And then the slide, the hill was built to put the little slide in as well. And that's Andrew's wife and their baby. Lots of fun. It's been so much fun. And then the grand opening of the playground was held on October 3rd, October 17th. And we had elders come. This was Elder Joe Michael and Elder Catherine Martin. And Catherine did some singing and some drumming, and it was really a very emotional time. And Joe spoke as well and talked about the spirits. And then we had a ribbon cutting, and we had the children of the community cut the ribbon, and then they raced towards the equipment and just played. And it was an amazing day. And they were calling for rain the whole day. And I had asked them, the elders, to do whatever they could for the rain to hold off. And indeed, as we were packing up to leave 2 hours later, the skies opened up and it rained then. But it was an amazing moment. And we had about 100 people come out for that grand opening event. And it was really an amazing feeling to see what we had accomplished already, what we have been able to do for the community. So Mi'kmaq, I asked you to remember that word. Mi'kmaq is the Mi'kmaq word for turtle. And when Elder Joe arrived at the playground that day on the 17th, he walked through ahead of any of the festivities. And he said, as he walked through, that the spirits of his ancestors told him that the park would be a safe place for the children of the community. And just as a turtle carries its home on his back, that this playground would become a home for the community and therefore would be safe. So the playground must be called Mi'kmaq. He explained that during the opening. I don't think there was a dry eye in the host. Indeed, I talk about it and I get very emotional because it, if we did nothing else in this project, if we have enabled the community to be able to come together and to strengthen their ties and to feel a place of safety, then we'll have done our job. Indeed, on the first cleanup day, first work day that we had in September 2020, I came out of the hall at one point, and there were some children playing over by the maple trees. And this happened, I got verklempt. And Andrew came out of the hall and he said, "What's wrong?" And I looked over and I said, "This is why we're here. If we can give these kids some semblance of a normal childhood and allow them a place where they can feel safe and just play and be children, then again, we've done our job." So this is what I hope we've accomplished. I feel that we have so far. It's been pretty powerful. So the indoor build-up, this is a quote of the architect. The design that she came up with is elevating the past and looking towards the future. I mentioned that the hall itself is very old and has these great posts and beams within it. So originally we thought we might move the hall itself, but there's enough issues with it that we're going to actually disassemble the hall. The beams are going to go to a company in the Annapolis Valley here in Nova Scotia who do this kind of restoration work. And then when we're ready, we're going to bring the beams back and incorporate them into the new construction. So roughed out, we're going to be elevating the hall up 8 feet, or what left of it, adding a bigger dance and eating space. We're adding commercial kitchen and washrooms. There's a second level on one side, a mezzanine for offices, workspaces, incubator space, and then this will be the covered outside pavilion. So again, the interior, they've got these great posts, and like, look at the pegs. That's amazing, Mark's craftsmanship, you know. So we're really excited about that. And Timberheart is the company, and this is the kind of work that they do. They take these beams and clean them up and then incorporate them into construction. So I can't wait to see this. Like, I don't want to hurry the project along, but I just can't wait to see what this is going to look like. It's so exciting. And then the big reveal. So what the architect's drawing now looks like is this. This is what the Portapique Community Hall will look like. So the existing building, the beams from the existing building will be in this section, and then we'll be elevating it up and trying to keep it very natural, cedar shakes, that kind of thing. And there'll be the covered pavilion on the side here. And this will be a garage door or barn door kind of effect, so that we can open it up so people will be able to kind of be in and out at the same time. And or it can be closed and you can just have the outdoor component happening. So the design of the building, the white box right in the middle is the size of the old hall. So this is what we were working with, was this space here. We're going to be adding on more internal area for eating, dining, dancing, that kind of thing. And then we're putting in an industrial kitchen here on the left, washrooms, and this washroom is also accessible from the outside. So for anybody coming to play at the playground, there will be a bathroom that they can access. Other washrooms here, and then upstairs to the mezzanine level, which is this side here, which will have office spaces. And then of course the barn doors here and the covered pavilion on the right-hand side. So it's going to be a place everyone can appreciate. This is Erin McKinnon, who's the treasurer on the board of trustees for the hall. She's a community member and has 5 children who are all very excited about the playground, and has been really, really anxious to get things going. We've had great support from the community, both the local community and the greater community in Nova Scotia. The McPhee Centre for Creative Learning is based out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, sister city to Halifax. And they do musical and artistic programming for children and youth. So they have created essentially a satellite location in Portapique. And this past summer, they did do a 4-week summer camp for 16 kids in the community with art and, oh gosh, they went mudsliding and they played music and they had all sorts of fun. It's been really fantastic, and they're doing some winter programming right now. And they're also working towards 2020, this summer's summer camps as well. I'm hoping that will be done, but we may have to figure that out. It might not be quite done by July. This is some pictures from their summer camp this past summer, all the fun that they had. And you can see in the background here, there was construction underway at that point. So they worked around it. They were great sports. We've also had Maggie's Place, which is a family resource center in Truro, come in and do Kids in the Kitchen. And they have been providing take home meals every time we've had a work day in Portapique, and they will be continuing to do programming once the kitchen is up and running there. And Big Brothers Big Sisters have done Go Girls and Game On programming after school for us and provided a $5,000 donation on the front end. There are lots of community organizations who are very interested in renting the space. And the trustees have set up a whole committee of who's responsible for cleaning the bathrooms, who's booking the events, who's managing the marketing. They've got everything figured out so that the Rotary Club won't be the ones actually managing anything. Once the hall is built, it will be strictly community driven, and they'll be looking after all aspects of running it and paying the bills, as it were. So how to make donations? Rotary clubs, of course, can donate by sending us a check, and we'll make sure it gets there. Or individuals may donate to the We Rise Again Fund.ca, which is through the Community Foundation, and you will get a tax receipt automatically as well. All righty, that would be it. I'm trying to stick to my time. There we go. That's great.
So I will open up for questions now, Alana. Rotarians, are there questions for our guest speaker?
Yeah, I see Bill.
Alana, thanks again. It was wonderful to hear this story a second time, and I'd love to hear it again. It's just such a great story. But now you soon will have this center, but how is it going to be run? Is there an organization then that will community organization that'll run the center?
Yeah, there is a, excuse me, board of trustees for the hall now, and they have created a fairly extensive committee to run the hall. So there are people that will be in charge of maintenance. There'll be people who are in charge of programming, people in charge of making sure the lights are on and it's ready to go when people arrive. And they're setting up a price structure. So if people want to rent the space, that this is how it will work. And yeah, the board of trustees have got that all figured out already.
And will kids and youth be involved in that too? Will they have a voice?
I think there will be youth involved. Yeah, I mean, the kids are already very, very present at the playground. It's been fantastic to have them involved. I can't say that they wouldn't be. I mean, it's a very young family community. There are older folks there, but a lot of younger folks have moved in. And interestingly, younger families have moved in since the event as well. So we're seeing some, fresh attitudes and new people that don't seem to see a stigma with moving into Portapique, which is fantastic. So I'm quite confident that there will be, there's certainly youth involvement. And I know that the kids are going to be tagging along for everything mom and dad do.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Alana? I can't see everyone. Bill, can you help me out here?
I
I'm just
don't see
looking, but
anybody.
anybody.
I don't see
Okay.
anybody.
All right, that's awesome though. So Leslie, would you thank our guest speaker, please?
Yes, thanks, Anna. It would be my pleasure. Wow, is all I can say. My eyes were swelling up with the stories that you were telling. A ray of sunshine on a winter morning you certainly brought to our to start our day. This really is a story of hope and resilience. In the community hall, this community will build positive relationships and memories that will certainly, with picnics or playgrounds or weddings, and they will certainly move forward on the path to healing. And that's the Michik turtle analogy. I just loved. I hope that builds a safe place for the whole community in their healing process. We have a tradition of honoring and thanking our guests by donating to them a loaf of bread. But for those that are not in our community, we usually donate the bread to those in needs. Would that be okay with you, Alana?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's very kind. And I couldn't help but notice the Nova Scotia tartan behind you, Leslie.
Yes,
beautiful.
That was when I was visiting my brother-in-law and sister-in-law in Halifax and Dartmouth.
Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak with you again this morning. Thank you for your continued interest in the project. And I'll continue as things progress. I'll continue to shoot some information off to Robert if you like, so you can stay apprised.